and record. You do have 3 goals tomorrow. The first one is just solving quadratics. The second one is taking the square root and cubic functions, and the last one is solving with quadratic formulas. So again, when you're working on this, if you can solve it a different way, that's perfectly fine. I don't care how you do it. If you use quadratic the whole entire time, that's perfectly fine. I just don't care, okay, as long as you solve it. So the first one is going to be pretty much factoring. So start with your cheater method because there's no number in front of x. What are my factors of 4? Factors of 4 that add to -5. So you're going to have x minus 4 and x minus 1 equals 0. And then remember, we set each factor equal to 0 and solve it, but you don't have to show this work because you know that you can just change the sign, and that's perfectly fine. Or if you solve it out, we get x equals 4 and x equals 1. Make sure that if you don't show your work, you do change the sign. All right, on the next one, I'm not going to make the chart. We're just going to talk about our factors. What are your factors of -12 that add to -1? -4 and +3. So then your two answers are +4, perfect, and -3. Same thing on number 3, factors of 4 that add to 5. 4 and 1, +4 and +1. So your answers would be -4 and -1. Now we did 3 problems in like a minute and a half. Okay, this shouldn't take you long. What's going to take you long is when you get to those cubics and you have to do quadratic formula. Okay, so that's the ones that are going to take you a long time. On the quadratic formula, on the quadratic formula one, you want to make sure that if you can factor, go ahead and factor. Okay, don't use quadratic formula unless you have to. Okay, I'm not checking to see which work you used. I'm checking to see if the work that you did is correct. Okay, did it get you the right answer? All right, so on this one, remember our first step to factoring is always GCF to see if we can pull this 2 out so we can use cheater method. We can't on this because there's not a 2 or anything divisible by 2 in the middle term. So this one is going to be slide and divide. So we're going to slide our 2. The biggest mistake people make with this is they forget to divide. Okay, so slide your 2. X squared minus x minus 12. What are your factors of -12 that add to -1? -4 and +3. Don't forget to go back and divide. If you can reduce it, go ahead and reduce it. 4 divided by 2 is 2, so this factor is x minus 2. So what is your answer? X equals 2. On the other one, I can't reduce 3/2, leave it as is, but when you pull it out, make sure you change the sign. So again, don't put that 2 in the front or anything like that. Just change the sign to a -3/2. And you guys have been doing really good with that. All right. Do I have a GCF on number 5? No. So I'm going to go ahead and straight slide and divide. X squared minus 11x minus 5 times 12 is 60. Remember, if you're not sure of your factors, you can put them in your calculator. I'm going to turn that plot off if that's on any of yours. Make sure you turn it off. Remember to put your negative in there. -60 divide x. -60 divide x plus x. And we're looking in the red column or the third column for -11. So if we look, there's +11. So let's keep going. There's -11. So what are my 2 factors? 4 and -15. +4 and -15. Don't forget that I did slides, so now I have to divide. Four-fifths will not reduce, so what's my answer? Negative four-fifths. And then 15 over 5 reduces to, and I'm just to write that to the side so you can see it. And then what would your answer be? Positive 3. Perfect. All right. Same thing on the next couple. That's about it. Just remember, make sure you watch for those GCFs, okay? Watch for those GCFs. In the solving, it's not going to hurt you. It'll factor out within here. Later on, it will hurt you not to take out a GCF, okay? So this time, it should not hurt you, but it will on the next unit, okay? Let's do number 8, and then we're probably going to stop. We might come back to more on here, but I'm not sure. We're going to do number 8, 3 times negative 12. Factors of negative 36 that add to negative 5. Negative 9 and positive 4. Again, if you don't know them or you want to be lazy, use your calculator and find those. It's perfectly fine. We're going to divide by 3. Negative 9/3 reduces to negative 3. This one doesn't reduce. So what are your two answers? 3 and negative 4/3. Perfect. Any questions on goal 1? That's literally goal 1. Okay, everybody good? Remember, you got to get 80 or above to get 100 in the grade book. Those retests I'm working on tomorrow while y'all are busy working on your tests, okay? So all those that you need in units 1 and 2 and possibly 3. Don't count on 3, but maybe 3 will be up after tomorrow, okay? So, and I'll talk to you about how that gets done. You are not responsible for them yet, okay? They'll be up for a while. So I'd like to talk to you in person about them. I will talk to Thursday and Friday's group about them on Thursday and Friday. And if you guys want to hold off, you can get them done the next week, okay? You don't have to do them. You can if you want to. If you feel like you're okay, that's not do it, whatever. But you don't have to. Correct. Correct. Very good. And I'll tell you which ones you need. I will go through and tell you which ones. All right, look at goal 2. Goal 2 is square root and cubic functions. So again, we're doing this, if we're solving for the square root, your first step is to get your square term alone. And then your second step is to take the square root. How many answers should you have? 2. Remember that. 2. All right. So on number 1, how do I get that square term by itself? Divide by negative 3. I get b squared equals. Thank you. 14. Now that it's by itself, I'm going to take the square root. Okay, there's your square root. 14 breaks down into 2 and 7. I don't have any pairs. So my final answer is just that. But make sure you put the plus minus on the front. And that's it. Okay. On this one, you got to get the square term by itself. So we're going to add 2. We get 49k squared equals 80. We're going to divide by 49. Yes, 81. Sorry. I'm telling you, this week is not my week. All right. So k squared equals 81 over 49. I got it by itself. Now I'm going to square root. Be careful on this one because like I told you to rationalize yesterday, you don't have to do that on this one. Why not? What's special about 81 and 49? They're both perfect squares, right? They're both perfect. So what is the square root of 81? So we're going to take the square root of the top and the square root of the bottom. So we get 9 over 49. Square root of 49 is 7. And then how many answers do we have? Plus or minus? All right, look at number 3. Look at number 3. How do I solve? Subtract 7. I get 2m squared equals, make sure you put the negative with it, don't forget that. Is everybody good? Divide by 2. You get m squared equals negative 12. How do I solve? Your factors of 12 are 4 and 3, or 2, 2, and 3. What do you notice? What else do I need to take out? So it's going to equal 2 answers plus or minus. I took out a 2 and an I, and I left 3. Good job. All right, how do I do number 4? Subtract 3. I get 16p squared equals divide by 16. And I get 178 is one. I see it. Oh, look, I literally see it on here. This is how my day is going again. Sorry, y'all. 173. Square root of 173 is a decimal, so we need to try to break it down. Remember, the way we break it down is we do the same thing we did here. 173 divide x. Do we see any factors? I'm not seeing anything. And then right here, you guys see how it starts repeating. It goes 9, and then it'll come back up, 7, 6, blah, blah. Once it gets to that repeat, you know you don't have to keep looking. So this is not going to give you anything. So we're just going to go ahead and take the square root. It will not reduce. So 2 answers plus or minus square root 173. And now on your test, I'm almost certain, I think Ms. Gordon made it. I'm almost certain it's multiple choice, okay? I might have made this one. If it's multiple choice and you already see square root of 173 as one of your answers, go ahead and put that. They're not going to give you that and the broken down. Y'all see what I'm saying? So if you already see, check at this point, and you already see plus or minus square root 173, go ahead and circle that answer. That's going to be it. Okay. All right, next one. What do I do on number 5? Add 13. I get negative 17. Don't forget to bring down that negative. Equals. What do I do now? What happens? Yeah, you get a decimal. What's the actual fraction? Do math, enter now. Yeah, so it will not even reduce. So this is one of those that you're going to have to do that hard work on, okay? So we're going to take the square root. Again, you could also get the decimal, type your answers in and see which decimal matches, but that will take forever, okay? So remember to rationalize. We multiply by the square root of 17 over the square root of 17, and that just comes from the denominator, which will put 17 on the bottom. My factors of 582, I have 6 and 97. I don't think those will break down. So if I'm not sure, I'm going to keep going. I don't see any more whole numbers other than 6 and 97 is prime. So it will not break down. 17 will not break down. There's no pairs. So what do? Multiply them together. So 582 times 17 is the square root of 9894. And remember, it's plus or minus. Again, if you guys have trouble, make sure you email me or send me a message on Remind or whatever. Just talk to me, okay, if you have a question. All right, so 6 through 10 are the ones that are the most missed on this test. And it's because you'll give me one answer and not the other two, or you'll screw up like a sign. It's not a big deal. But again, I'm pretty sure it's multiple choice, and I don't typically give this test multiple choice. All right, so x cubed plus 27. How do I factor it? What are my factors? So x and 3, but what's my first factor? First set of parentheses. X plus 3 because the problem is positive. Square the first. Multiply them together and change the sign. And then square the last. 3 times 3 is 9. The first answer is very easy. X plus 3, the answer is -3. How do I get the other two answers? Because I should have 3 because I have x cubed. So x equals -b. Plus or minus, big fat square root sign of -4 times 9, perfect. All over 2 times 1. Remember, don't put in the square root. We do 3 squared minus 4 times 1 times 9. And we get -27. 3 plus or minus the square root of -27 over 2. What are your factors of 27? Yeah, 3 and 9, or 3, 3, and 3. So what do I have to take out of this? A 3 and an I because I have a negative. So we have 3 plus or minus 3i. I did not circle that 3 over 2. The last thing you're going to look at is the triangle of numbers. These are not reducible. So this is your final answer. So 1, 2, 3. So if I were doing number 7, what would my answer be? Do you remember how it changed? -3 will change to a +3. So this factor would start with x minus 3, so our answer would be +3. Is everybody good with that? And then what would change in this part? The 3 in front would become a -3, plus or minus 3i square root 3 over 2. And I'm pretty sure your test follows the same kind of thing. So again, it's not terrible if you'll know the tricks. Otherwise, just work it out. You'll be fine. Hey, can you do me a favor and take your hood off, please? I don't want anybody to get mad at me. All right, look at your next one. I'm going to do number 9, and then we'll go back to number 8. So we're going to do number 9. How do you factor it? X plus 1, because here's x and 1. What's your next set of factors? Plus 1. Your first answer? -1. Your second one, x equals -b. 1. Plus or minus? Take that square root, b squared. -4 times all over 2 times 1. 1 squared minus 4 times 1 times 1. What do you get under that radical? -3 over 2. 3 will not reduce. It will not have any pairs, but it does have what with it? An I. So we're going to take out the I, leave the square root of 3 over 2. Check your triangle of numbers. 1, 1, and 2 will not reduce. So there are your other two answers. So number 8 is the same exact problem. It's just a minus. So what are your 3 answers going to be for that? Your first one is going to be not negative, but positive 1. Yep, this one was negative 1, so this one's positive 1. And then your second answers are going to be what? Perfect. Any questions? And again, we saw that yesterday when we were working on day 4. All right, so we factored out 2 pluses, so I wanted to leave this one to factor out a minus. Okay, so in the end, we're going to factor out a minus. We have x and 2. How did I get that 2? It's the cube root. Remember, the cube root is under math and number 4. So your first factor, minus 2, because the answer, I'm sorry, the problem is negative. And the next, x squared plus 2x plus 4. Your first answer is going to be positive 2. Your second answer, x equals negative b. Plus or minus big fat square root b squared minus 4 times all over 2 times 1. 2 minus 4 times 1 times 4. Negative 2 plus or minus the square root of negative 12 all over 2. What does negative 12 break into? And 4 breaks into 2 and 2. What else do we have to pull out? The I. So we pull out a pair of 2's and an I. So we get negative 2 plus or minus. I pulled out a 2 and an I. I did not circle that 3. And a 2 was on the bottom. And then you have your triangle of numbers. All the 2's are divisible by 2. So it changes to? And I'm going to put it over 1. Remember, the 1 in front is the only one that matters. Okay. If you have an X, a P, a Q, a R, the 1 in front doesn't matter. So this one doesn't matter. And the one on the bottom doesn't matter, because if we have a whole number, we don't have to show divide 1. So what it'll look like on your quiz or on your test is negative 1 plus or minus I square root of 3. So very good. Any questions on this section? I think the hardest part on this one is that rationalizing the denominator. But again, if you need help, just ask me. It's okay. And remember, you got to get 8 out of 10. So if you miss 1, it's not going to kill you. Okay. All right. Quadratic formula, just a reminder, even though we've already done it. Negative b plus or minus square root b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Did anybody get Miss Huber to sing to you? What are you thinking? You should do it. All right. So on the first one, make sure it's always equal to 0. This one is equal to 0. So we're just going to go with our formula. X equals negative b. Yeah, negative 3. Plus or minus big fat square root of 3 squared minus 4 times all over 2 times 1. Remember, only what's in the square root. 3 squared minus 4 times, I don't ever put that 1 in, but if you want to, it's fine. How about I put it in, right? 3 squared minus. What do we get? What do you know about 49? With the perfect square. So I could have, what? I could have factored this one. So what I would suggest that you do is always try to factor first, okay? So we would get negative 3 plus or minus 7 over 2, and we split. into two equations. -3 plus 7 is 4. Divided by 2 is 2. -3 minus 7 is -10. Divided by 2 is -5. So there are your two answers. What are your factors of -10 that add to 3? Factors of -10 that add to 3. Nope. 5 and -2. Remember, our answers are opposite. Okay. So if you can factor, try to factor first. So look at number 3. Do I have factors of -4 that will add to 3?
4 and -1.
Yes. So please don't do quadratic formula. Which one was faster, doing it this way or doing quadratic formula? Did I got it? All right, look at your other one, number 2. How would you be able to tell if you could factor or not? You would have to slide divide, and what I do, yeah, is I just go ahead and put it in. So you can even be lazy and put this in parentheses, 2 times -21 divide x. 2 times -21 divide x plus x. So that way you don't even have to do the work. You know what 2 times 21 is. I'm not thinking that you're stupid. I'm just telling you it's easy. Do we have any factors that add to 1? So we're looking for 1. Sorry, y'all. I'm gonna get, what are you doing? Start at 0. There we go. So -1 is right here. So can we factor this one? Yeah, so I'll go ahead and factor it and not use quadratic formula. So you would get b squared plus b minus 42. You had -7 and 6. And then we need to divide by that 2. Will 7/2 reduce? Nope, so we just leave it and change the sign. Will 6/2 reduce? To 3, and then we change the sign to, it's already positive, so we change it to negative. No worries. Take your time on this, okay? Those signs are what will kill you. It'll be something crazy. That's what's, anybody that's missed something on our quiz, that's what it's been. It's been signs. All right, what about number 4? What do I have to do on number 4? Yeah, all on one side. Remember, we're going to keep our x squared positive, so I'm going to move everything else. So I actually have 3x squared. I'm going to subtract x and subtract 3. If I tried to do slide and divide, do I have factors of -9 that add to -1? No, so this one has to be quadratic. Okay, so this one has to be. X equals, what's -b? Plus or minus the square root of 1 squared minus 4 times a times c is -3. Make sure you get the negative in there. All over 2 times 3 is a. One squared minus 4 times 3 times -3 is a positive 37. Over 2 times 3 is 6. 37 will not break down. There's nothing you can do. These are your two answers. And that's it. Let's go down to one of the harder ones. They're not hard. They're just more work. I mean, like more problem. Let's look at number 8. What do I need to do? Add 3x squared and add 6. So 8x squared minus x plus 9 equals 0. Gosh, I'm going to try to factor it. 8 times 9 is
72.
So we're going to try it. You should know this, but I'm going to go ahead and put it in. 72 divide x plus x, because sometimes you just get lazy in the head. Like, I'm just put it in just because I don't think about it. So factors of 72 that add to -1. And again, you should already know them, but if you don't, it's okay. Let's look for 1. There's 18, 17. Anything? No. Is everybody good? All right. So what do I have to do on this one? Okay. X equals negative b plus or minus big fat square root of all over. Good. Underneath 1 squared minus 4 times 8 times 9. We get negative 287 over 16. You can see that you were right. You couldn't factor it because it's got a not perfect square root. Okay. So do I have factors of 287 that I can break down? There's 7 and 41. What do I know about both of those? 41 is prime and 7 is prime. There's no more breaking down. So do I have any pairs? No. So this is as good as it gets, except for it's a negative 287. So what do I need to do? Bring out the I. All right, we're going to do one more. Let's do number 9. Which ones do I need to move? Yeah, make sure you keep that a squared positive. Some of you are still doing that on the quiz, and it'll mess up your signs. So I'm going to subtract the 3a and add the 4 over. If I slide and divide, I get 20. Do I have factors of 20 that add to negative 3? No. So x equals positive 3 plus or minus big fat square root of 3 squared minus 4 times all over 2 times 5. Underneath 3 squared minus 4 times 5 times 4 gives us negative 71. Two times 5 is 10. Will 71 break down? Remember, you can check that in your table and see if there's anything, and there's not. So the only thing I have to do from here is what? Take out the I square root 71 over 10. Any questions on quadratic formula? All right. So I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to stop recording, but I need